you all for joining us. I hope you have a great time with this. I'm going to show you a little bit first about all the supplies we have here, and then we'll go into how we do this, and it'll be short and sweet. Ask questions anytime throughout it. If you want to put your question in the chat box, Miss Sue is watching that for us, and then she'll holler that out. So thank you, Sue, for monitoring that for me. So I'm going to change the camera angle a little bit. Go down here so I can see my workstation. Okay. So I have these fun little blocks that a friend of mine took a router and cut the middle out so that your fun little ice cream cones fit right in there. The nice thing about that is it holds them still while your little fingers work. So see that? How cool is that? You just sit right in there. Okay. All right, I have some gloves because we're going to work in the dirt, and then we're going to have ice cream, and we don't want to get the dirt in our ice cream, right? So I'm going to work in gloves today. I also have some cilantro seeds. And cilantro is my favorite spice herb, and so I plant a lot of it, and I think you'll like it too. You should give it a try. I also have a bucket of water, which you can't really see on my camera because the bucket's kind of big. So there we go, a bucket of water, a bag of potting soil. Okay, any potting soil works, and don't have to be fancy with that. And I've got a little terracotta pot that I'm going to use today too. Okay. All right. So ice cream gardens. First thing, let's get our gloves on so we keep our hands nice and clean. All right. This is so easy, you guys. Any of you can do it. I promise. And it's super fun. Take a little bit of dirt, a little bit of soil from your potting soil, put it in the bottom of your ice cream cone, kind of pack it a little bit in there. Not too tight though, okay? Then grab some herb seeds, and you can use any kind of herbs. I have some samples here in a second that I'm going to show you, and of some others, but I'm going to put just three little cilantro seeds in there. Okay, tuck them in. Oops, we don't want them too close to each other because then they kind of fight for space as they grow. So sort of spread them out, just 3 or 4 per ice cream cone. Make sure you pick up all the rest of your seeds, put them back in your bag. Okay, and then you can roll your seed package down like this to keep your seeds in there and dry for any future plantings, okay? So now we're gonna cover them back up, or sorry, not back up, cover them up a little bit with just a little bit more soil. You don't want a whole lot in there, okay? And then we're gonna give it a little drink. Let it set, give it a little more, okay. There you go. So this, you can now take your ice cream cone and you can set it on a windowsill, on a plate, in a bowl, whatever you might want, and wait a few days, and you will start to see plants popping up. So the cilantro seed says that we are supposed to plant it 18 to 20, or sorry, it gets 18 to 24 inches tall. We plant it 1/4 inch deep, and we thin it to 12 inches between plants, okay? This says to put 3 plants per 12-inch container, or you can plant it in the ground, and the plants are ready to harvest in 60 to 90 days. So in 60 days, you will have cilantro. And you should start seeing your seedlings emerge in 14 to 21 days. All of that is on the back of your seed package. So when you buy your seeds, depending on what kind of plant you get, you'll see that here. It'll tell you all those directions. Also, you can do this. You can start any plant like this. And then I prefer to do the herb gardens because I have a very small house and I like having the herbs to cook with in the summertime. So I keep planting herbs as soon as I use up one batch, I have another batch going so that I always have fresh herbs to cook with. Okay, if you don't want to leave this on a plate in the windowsill or on the table, you can get a pot like this, a small little terracotta pot, or I have some really fun ones. Let me show you these. I got these. I'm going to change my camera here a little bit for you guys. Okay, I got these at the dollar store. Look how fun these little pans are that you can have. Okay, so just have somebody help you put some holes in the bottom because you have to have drainage for your plants. These are metal, so you can take a drill with a drill bit, poke a couple holes in the bottom of it so you get good drainage, fill it up with some more potting soil, and just put your ice cream cup right in it. Okay, and then you can just continue to raise your herbs right here in this on your windowsill. And look how cute that would be in the windowsill, and all kinds of colors. You can also, just a little Tupperware dish, okay? Just a little Tupperware dish. Again, poke some holes in the bottom of it for drainage, put it on a plate or something to catch the water, and put your ice cream cones right in that in some dirt. I'm going to show you how to plant the ice cream cone in this terracotta pot next, okay? We're going to use that today. I'm going to change this back down. All right, we're going to set that off to the side. So we're going to put some soil in our pot. You don't want to fill it too full because your cone is going to take up some of that room, okay? So get the stick out of there. Put our pot right in there, or our cone right in our pot. Okay, see how the cone is just a little bit under the rim of the pot? That's what we want it to be. Don't have your cone sticking up out, and don't have it completely in the bottom. Have just maybe a 1/4 inch under the edge of the terracotta pot. Then I'm going to pack some more dirt, not on top of it like I just did. Please don't do that. Go around the edge. Kind of pack it down in there, keeping your cone straight like that. Okay. Why do you think we might not want to put the dirt right up over the top of the cone that we just put seeds in? Can anybody tell me?
You can unmute yourself if you would like.
Looks like we might have some.
It might not work. You have to say it.
Okay, so we wouldn't want to put the dirt right over the top of the cone we just planted the seeds in, because then our seeds are deeper than a 1/4 inch. Remember the package said to put them a 1/4 inch deep? So we got to make sure we keep them, don't put too much soil over them, or we might not be able to get them to grow. Okay. All right. So it's a little bit hard to see on the camera, but right here is the edge of my cone. Okay. So now my seeds are still at their 1/4 inch depths because I haven't uncovered them. Okay. And I've got a little rim around it to put the soil in, or to put water in there. So don't pack them too deep. Get your water back out, give them a little bit more drink. Not so much that you float your seeds. I did that the first time and my seeds floated up and floated out of the pot. So I had to restart all over again. Okay. Make sure we don't uncover them. They stay right there in the little ice cream cone. All right. Now it's important to water your plants. Yes, Joey, that's exactly right. It would put the seed too deep. Good job. Okay. So yes, make sure it's important to water your plants every other day. If your house is really warm, you might want to water them every day. Just kind of check the soil by putting your bare hand in it and see if it's damp. And if it's not damp, add a little bit more water to it, okay? So that in 14 to 21 days, we should start to see some plants popping up out of this one. But let me show you one that's already done and growing.
So while Gail is grabbing that completed plant, do we maybe want to run a poll, see who's joining us in our meeting today? Is that okay,
Yeah,
Gail?
let's do that.
Great.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and launch that.
Okay, I'm gonna launch the poll right now.
So if you've been on, which it's looking like we've had our friends from some previous sessions, there's just a few quick questions, just trying to see who's joining with us. Because I know some of us, maybe one sign on, but there can actually be like 10 individuals joining. So it's super fun to see who's with us today. So we'll give just about, I'll count it off to 5 more seconds and then we'll close that. But thanks so much for answering those quick questions. Okie doke. So it's always fun to see those. So we've got youth and adults joining us today. So thank you. And back to Gail's very different looking display.
Okay, so this one has been growing in my kitchen for quite a bit. So I'm going to adjust the camera. I'm going to kind of hold it up for you guys. So this is what it will look like after your plants have had a chance to grow, and I'll kind of rotate this. So I got this terracotta plate at the hardware store for about $1.99. I think it was pretty inexpensive. And the really nice thing about it, not only does it match my pretty terracotta pots, but it doesn't have to match. I can pour water in the pot or in the plate like this. See, that's filling up there. And then my plants can water themselves. And that way they can drink as much or as little as they need to throughout the day. And as long as I keep water in the plate, then my plants are well taken care of and they grow. So I have some lemon balm here, some rosemary, and then this is sweet basil. And I wish this was smell-o-vision because basil and cilantro are my 2 favorite smells in the whole wide world. And I love how my office smells right now with these. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cilantro that we just planted in here with these guys. And so when I take them home tonight, they're going to continue growing. And maybe I'll try to remember to snap a picture and share it with those emails of all of you that are here today. And in 14 to 21 days, when we start to see some cilantro plants come up. Okay, I have a couple of other little things I wanted to show you. I'm going to carefully move my watered plants off to the side here.
Great. And so Gail, we have a question from Rebecca.
Sure.
Sometimes we do plants inside and the soil gets really hard. Why is that?
So when the soil gets really hard, we packed it too hard or watering in exactly the same spot and the soil gets all compacted up. So you have to make sure you're watering. Actually, that's why we water from the bottom. That's why we have the plate and we let the plants soak the water up from the bottom. One way to combat that. And the second way is to make sure you're watering all the way around the whole bowl and never just in the same side or down in the same middle. And make sure you don't pack it too hard when you put the seeds in to begin with. Also, don't let it get too dried out. Sometimes when it gets too dried out, it gets really compacted and then we can't get enough water into it to spread it back out or to soften it back up. Hopefully that helps whoever needed that tip. Okay. All right. So I showed you my cute pots from the dollar store to do the same kind of thing I just did. And then you could get like a little casserole dish or something to put these in so that you could water from the bottom. There's also fun if you have a bigger space and can do a bigger garden, you could get something like this. This is an old wash basin that we poked a few holes in the bottom of. And we could put this in a plate or on a plate and put herbs, all kinds of herbs. You wouldn't have to put them in certain pockets in here. You could sprinkle them all the way around in that one. Here's a metal wash basin I got at Walmart a few years ago that you could use. And here's a little plastic basket that you could use too. Just remember, you have to put holes in the bottom of these so that the water drains through, and you really want them to sit on a plate or in a bowl or a basket underneath of this that's going to hold the water in for the plant to water from the bottom. Here's another couple of fun things I've done. These ones are out in my garden. So these are just old metal coffee cans that I spray painted and put pieces of wire on, and I have them hanging in my garden. And I actually have a picture of that in my PowerPoint here. Maybe if I can make this work, I'm going to try to show you some pictures of some different ways to do gardening.
That's cool. Yeah, we would love to see it.
Okay, Sue, can you see that picture?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so there's my herb garden that's outside in the garden. I planted these plants about 25 days ago, and you can see some are doing really well and some are still just starting. Rosemary and lemon balm take longer to germinate, so they don't come up quite as fast as the cilantro and the dill did, or the basil. And this big wooden frame that I have hanging on the chain link fence, somebody threw that away. It was at the dumpster, and I asked the garbage guy if I could have it, and he gave it to me. And so I just made it an herb garden, right? Super fun, very easy, very affordable to do. Coffee cans, which you could do this with plastic coffee cans too. I just happen to have some metal ones that I spray painted in fun colors. Okay, so that's what the basil looks like after 25 days. This one is an old wooden toolbox that I filled up with dirt, and I poked some holes in the bottom, and I filled it up with dirt and put all kinds of hens and chicks and some spider plants and some lavender plants, all kinds of fun stuff in that one. And then this is an old piece of gutter from my barn that got tore off by the wind and the snow this winter. And so I took some hooks, hooked it on the chain link fence and hung it up, and that is all lettuce growing in that. So you can do a lot of fun stuff with easy, sometimes cheap, or you can spend as much money as you might want to for fun garden things, okay? All right, now the best part, what everybody's been waiting for and why we wore gloves. Now my hands are still clean, and I'm going to get out my fun little ice cream block that is clean still, and a clean ice cream cup. And now we're gonna have a little ice cream break. Who's ready for ice cream? Me. Okay, so when you ask your mom and dad for ice cream cups, Miss Joey, yes, absolutely. When you ask your mom and dad for ice cream gardens, you gotta remind them to get you some ice cream for yourself after you work so hard planting and growing. Okay, that's the best part. I had my ice cream sitting out a little too long. It's almost kind of already melted, but it's still going to be delicious, right?
Yes, I'm jealous.
All right, so there's our ice cream to go with our ice cream gardens. All right, and it is dripping down the side, so I'm going to take a bite of it real quick. Okay, we'll take this camera back. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so if you're curious, I have used this method to start marigolds, snap peas, tomatoes, zucchini plants. You can use it for anything. You can get the little, I think they're kind of a cardboard style Jiffy pot that is used for starting plants, and they're about 99 cents for a bag of them. Or you can get a box of ice cream cones for the same price and get yourself a treat with half of the ice cream cones, as well as your plants for your garden. So I think I saw a question there real quick about what inside light. What kind of inside light is needed to grow your plants? So plants really do best under blue and red UV lights. So if you can get them into sunlight, so in any windowsill would be good, where they can get some direct light for 3 to 6 hours a day. And if you can't do that, you can buy grow lights that are either solar powered or plug-in, general or regular powered through Amazon or any online gardening resource that any hardware store would have them. And you can put those over them to help them out a little bit in the winter months, especially if you can set them on like this countertop behind me and mount a light, grow light over it, that will really help it. But honestly, sunlight is the best. So if you can get them in a windowsill and get good sunlight on them for 3 to 6 hours a day, that's what will help them grow. And what do you do to keep the soil from leaking out of the bottom of the pots? That's an excellent question, Robin. So I put them on any kind of plate or in a bowl of some kind. And then that way the water grows up the side. In fact, let me show you. This is one of the reasons the terracotta pots are really good for this, because see how wet this pot already is after we set it on that plate and let it soak in the water. It pulls all the terracotta pulls the water up in there. You can see this watermark right here. And when I fill up that plate of water all the way with water, that's how full it is. And the pot just continues to soak it in and keep the moisture in the soil as it's growing. But I do this with the little tin cans too. And as long as there's holes in the bottom and it's sitting on a plate or something that has a little bit of depth to it, so you can keep it full of water, it will continue to grow and soak in the water that it needs.
That's a good tip. I'm gonna try
Yeah.
that at home.
Any kind of even a dinner plate, if it has a little bit of a lip in it, you know, in the bottom of it, will work to hold the water up for it. And this is something fun, you guys. Go to the thrift stores, go to the secondhand stores, go yard sailing and find fun things to use. I've seen some of our 4-Hers have done it out of old metal not toolboxes, metal lunch boxes. We had a 4-Her do a fairy garden with us a couple years ago out of his dad's old metal hard hat, and we've had him out of our old plastic hard hats. As long as you can put a little bit of a hole in the bottom of it to give it some drainage and get it something to sit on. If it's inside, if it's outside, it doesn't matter if the water runs through it. But if it's inside, you'll want to make sure there's something under there to catch the drips. It's so true, Serene. She says all the great ideas for repurposing items. Important to remember how easy, economical, sustainable growing plants can be. It really can be so easy. I lived in a 355 square foot house, and I was able to keep my herb garden and to have a tomato plant that actually lived almost a whole year, even though it really should have only lived a few months. But because it was inside with a little grow light on it in the winter, I had fresh tomatoes all the way to Christmas. So anyone can do it, I promise. I used to think I had the biggest black thumb in the world, and if it was green, it died in my house, but I just had to learn a little bit. The important thing is using potting soil, not just topsoil, and sometimes using a little bit of a fertilizer, which you can get at any hardware store, and it doesn't take much. Once a month, give it a little bit of fertilizer and keep it watered, and keeping it watered is the most important part, and it'll keep growing. And I see some of you are enjoying ice cream. I'm so glad you had that. Yay. Oh, Amy, that's a really cool idea. One of her favorite planters is her grandmother's old canner. How cool is that? I bet that's awesome. I've seen wheelbarrows, old wheelbarrows used, big pieces of driftwood log that somebody hollowed out. You can really get creative with it.